Hello, and welcome to the Reveal the Legend Within Story Festival interviews with world-class speakers. And today I am absolutely delighted to introduce to you Janine Gregor. She is an incredible woman. When I very first met her, my respect for her as a mother and a woman knows no bounds because of the story she is about to tell you. But let me just allow her to say hello first. Hello, Janine.
Hi, Melanie. Hi, thank you for having me.
Right, so when I first met you, you told me your story of how you turned like a big bunch of prescriptions into thank you notes. And I would love you to tell us that story, because how do you turn prescription notes into thank you notes? Please tell us.
Well, in 1999, our son's kindergarten teacher called me to speak about his lack of attention in class. She had suspected ADD, which was ADHD without the hyperactivity. This was a very common and frequently used diagnosis for millennials to explain learning disabilities. It still is. It was a list of 14 symptoms that included lack of attention, not wanting to wait your turn, fidgeting, unfinished tasks, making mistakes, and daydreaming, for example. So I had him tested, and then I took him on to his pediatrician for an assessment. At age 5, he was diagnosed with ADD, as he had 5 symptoms that were needed to make that diagnosis. At the very first follow-up visit, the pediatrician prescribed the drug Adderall. I took the prescription home and I decided to do some research, because to me, Adderall was an adult medication and it wasn't just baby aspirin. This drug is known to cause sleeplessness, moodiness, irritability, and a loss of appetite. Long and large-term doses could change the brain permanently by making it difficult for the brain to produce dopamine. And that frightened me. I read through whatever literature I could find in the library, as the internet was still a limited resource at the time. I called the manufacturer and I spoke to several pharmacists, and I kept journal and logs of my findings. I didn't want to just give him the drug without knowing what the implications would mean long term. So it was like writing my thesis all over again, and I would cover all aspects of using this drug on his brain, on a child's brain. My main concern was that his brain was still forming, and I worried that this drug would affect growth that could inhibit him for the rest of his life. Yeah. The bottom line, though, was that he was still only 5 years old. So what I did was I decided that I would implement behavior modification instead. But the question was, could this middle-aged mom with no medical training defy the medical profession? Could I make this change without medications and just with behavior modification? So to be successful, this required support from those in his own support system. I just couldn't do this alone. So I made a list of everyone he came in contact with each day, from his bus driver, his Cub Scout leader, to the lunch ladies at school. And school would definitely have a major influence. You see, in the state of New Jersey, ADD is considered a disability, which permitted him to receive a tutor and more time to take tests, along with preferential seating in the classroom. But he needed the diagnosis of ADD on paper to officially participate in specialized education. So adding the prescription Adderall to the mix wrapped the whole package together, giving him access to all of those services. So I came up with my plan of what I call medical defiance. We would continue visits to the pediatrician, pick up the prescription papers, and put them on the side while I worked on a behavior modification plan to help him learn. I didn't let anyone in on my game plan. I just kept it within the home. I set up a journal with a checkoff system with 5 behaviors I wanted to modify, starting with sitting still in his seat. That was something he had difficulty with. So each time he received a check mark from the teacher, he would put a chip in a jar that I had set up at home. And at the end of the week, he'd count his chips and he would purchase a reward that gave him control over the outcome. So I posted a chart on the fridge that he could see every day. So 10 chips, and he could select a pizza on Fridays, 15 chips, and he could select a movie from Blockbusters. And I always tell the story that we watched Air Bud 10 times in 1 month at his request, because he had won the 15 chips each time. 20 chips, he could stay up a half an hour later on a Friday night, and 25 chips, he could choose what we'd all have for dinner. There were some nights we agreed to his choice of cupcakes and brownies for dinner. I worked with his teachers to keep him attentive in school by giving him responsibilities such as watering the plants and taking home the class guinea pig on weekends, or help the teacher by handing out papers. It made him feel important. And he was able to focus. With my involvement and communication with his teachers, they were on board with my plan. Everybody bought in. They felt as if I was going to be involved, they were going to be involved. And on the days that he struggled, the teachers, now this was before text messaging, they would call me to say they had to move his seat to the front just to keep him focused. So people were working, with him every day and watching him and making adjustments as needed. I encouraged the teachers to find small things that he did that were useful in the classroom, and to hand him a gold star or a silly pen that I supplied. I received daily notes from the teachers telling me they rewarded him for writing 2 sentences when the assignment was to write an entire paragraph. The emphasis became on quality and not so much quantity. And over time, I created a team. I was on alert, to find what I called the thing that motivated him, and the teachers did the same. So for example, we talked about that he liked cars and planes and buses and trains. So then I became the mom who set him up sitting in the conductor's seat on a train to Washington, D.C. one year. I contacted the airlines to have him meet the pilots. This was before 9/11, to meet the pilots on our planes, and planned visits to the cockpit. On a Disney cruise one year when he was 10, I made sure he got to sit in the captain's seat and blow the horn. On a bus ride to Baltimore, Maryland to teach him American history, I secured seats in the front of the bus. He could watch the bus driver, make his turns and wave to people. He enjoyed that. I kept him occupied, and his rewards for good behavior were to give him opportunities to get right out in front of the things that he loved, and the teachers did the same. Every single time someone went out of their way, though, to do something that I asked for him, I'd send a thank you note to the airline or the train conductor or even the stewardesses. I'd make a phone call letting people know let them know personally how much I appreciated their involvement. I'd often let their supervisor know as well. I'd make an extra cupcake and put their name on the frosting for the teachers, and I'd get creative with some of my thank yous. I remember one time I came in and read a story to the class so that the teacher could have a few minutes break. just say thank you for keeping an eye on him. I did this to let people know that I truly appreciated them, that their actions mattered. And every time he experienced something new, he stood still just a little bit longer in his seat. He could concentrate just a few minutes more over time, and he learned self-control, and he could self-monitor his own behavior. And over time, the notes just continued, the notes and the thank yous, because I learned that people really want to know that when they're on your team, they matter and that they actually make a significant difference. And they did so with my son. And that's the story.
And this is why I just, you know, there is just so much power in what you did, Janine. And, you know, my own son was ill, so I defied conventional medicine and got him well. So I know on a really visceral level what it took to do that. But the way in which you did it was extraordinary. And the part that makes the difference is the thank yous. Well, that's the bit I heard. But have you carried on thanking people? Have you seen this thank you work in other ways?
I see it more so now that I realized that over time, it really became something ingrained in me that I would continue to thank people for even just the little things that they would do for me. But then, for example, when I babysat, I took a babysitting job just to be able to supplement some of my virtual assistant company business. And you can see behind me that I've got thank you notes from from the people from the children that I babysat for, and because I take them out and I enjoy spending time with them. That's my thank you for having a great day. Just enjoy their company. And then what they do is they write me thank you notes for me just being with them. And so I find that as time goes on, even with children and with adults, that I continue to write thank yous, and it makes a significant difference. People remember the thank yous. People remember the handwritten notes. People
Well,
are touched by it.
I'm looking at them all behind you, and how does it make you feel when you get a thank you note from the kids?
Well, it makes me feel as if I'm important, that I made a significant, I made a moment in their life special. I made a memory that they can keep, and that they do keep, because they love to go out with Miss Janine. You know, they love when I take them to the theater. They look forward to them. I watch them jump up and down, and the big hugs I get when I pick them up. The notes make me feel it just makes me keep wanting to go longer and longer, you know, and they're older now. They're, you know, one of them is approaching 11 years old, and he still feels the same about me now that he did when I met him when he was, you know, when he was a toddler.
Right. So you've also understood and researched that there is a long-term relationship, that connection part to gratitude, that it really creates connections, and over time those are really deep relationships. Is that true?
Yes, it does. It does over time continue to develop relationships long from childhood into teenage, all the way into, you know, as we continue to grow older. I've done some research with this, and I was surprised to learn the newest generation, the Generation Z that we have, is actually more likely to report an anxiety disorder. And so I'm finding that because they don't really understand, there's no sense of having control with issues such as mass shootings, climate control, harassment, bullying, and so forth. And that generation is having a much more difficult time dealing with anxiety. But in my research, I realized that gratitude can actually be a solid foundation for giving people a sense of purpose, and that they matter. So I feel that for Generation Z and even for X, this increases what's optimism, that there is hope, in the mire. And that's what I have learned about thank yous and feeling gratitude, that it actually can affect future generations, starting from when they're very small all the way till they're adults.
Well, that's what you are passionate about, is helping us to understand we need to teach them young.
Yes, it starts young, and it can start even before they know how to write. It begins with just hearing people around them saying, using the word gratitude, just actually using the word and using thank you in conversation, even before they can speak. Sending a thank you note that might just be a child's handprint. I actually have a little jar that I keep with a couple of acorns in them that one of the little girls, she was just about 2 or 3, had given to me to thank me for taking her to the park that day. So she gave me her acorns. That's gratitude. It doesn't have to be a written note. It could be just a gesture. It could be something thoughtful. And so it starts young.
And I think you've touched on this, that it obviously it makes us nicer people or better people in the world, but it's that feeling inside when you're grateful for life, actually you are optimistic and you are happy, and that might be the most important, or at least the most motivating part, is that your entire life then becomes optimistic.
It is my contention that gratitude could be a solid foundation for giving people a sense of purpose, that they matter. For Generation Z and X, this increases optimism that there is hope in their worlds. So even for older generations, gratitude gives people a sense of purpose. There was a study in Chicago that followed 900 older adults over a period of 8 years. And people who reported feeling a life purpose had nearly 2.5 times reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's. And that sense of life purpose comes from feeling as if they matter, and they matter when people appreciate them. So gratitude tells you that people appreciate them, and it begins with just a thank you.
And it's not those compliance thank yous that when your mum says, say thank you, and you go, thank you. It's actually being thankful. That's what you want us to teach people, to teach our own children.
Right, and to be specific about what it is you're grateful for. I receive a lot of thank you notes, and the saddest ones that I receive are the ones where people really don't recognize the effort that I put into the gift. More recently, I sent a wedding gift to a relative, and the thank you note came back a month over. Well, you still have a month to send your thank yous, your wedding thank you. So she sent it to me, at a month, and she said, "Dear Janine, thank you very much for the wedding gift. Love so-and-so." And I was like, what went into that? I mean, I really thought about it. I called up a few people. I got some ideas. What I did was I put a room together for her, a lamp, a rug, a table, a statue, a little thing like, I actually gave it more thought than just going to, the wedding list. And I was saddened that she didn't really specify what it is she noticed that I noticed in her. So it's important that a thank you note not just says thank you, or Thank you, but it actually is very specific to what is it about that person that has affected you or affected me.
Right, and here you actually have this story of which is one of my favorites, about how you taught sign language to one of the children you babysat, and then tell us the story of what happened at one of their birthday this year.
Yes, so I found a babysitting job. Well, they found me actually, and needed some funds for my virtual assistant business, and so I've got this position, and she was about I would say roughly around 11 months old at the time, and I noticed that she wanted to tell me she needed more, but she couldn't verbalize it. So I got an ASL, American Sign Language book, and I looked around through it and I tried to find some kind of signs, and we ended up making up more. This was our sign. It was an easy sign for her to, to determine that this meant more. So she could tell me she needed more water or more juice or, another push on the swing or something like that. So that became our language. So we used to do bunny, rabbit, and dog, and she couldn't speak, but she knew what I was talking about. Well, the funny story that was told to me, that her mom and her Grammy, had taken her to lunch, and she had finished her lunch, and they gave her a small scoop of ice cream. And while they were eating, well, as she finished that up, and so she wanted another, so she went more like this at the table, and nobody was really paying attention to her. So she started to get a little aggressive with it, and all of a sudden the people in the restaurant began to notice. People got a kick out of it. Well, now of course everyone paid attention to her, and then they gave her an extra scoop of ice cream. So we laugh now. She's fast forward now. She's 7 years old. And we still do the more sign together. So I thought it would be great now that she's older to actually learn American Sign Language. So I picked up a book for her birthday and some flashcards. And because of COVID, I wasn't able to go over there for her birthday party. So I decided to make a video, which is what I did. And but I thought, you know what, Janine, you have to do something just a little bit more special. She's such a sweet girl. She's given you such joy. And she's been and she's written you some wonderful thank you notes. So what could I do to make it special? So what I learned how to sign happy birthday, and
can you do that for us?
Okay.
Come on, can you remember it?
Let's see. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vivian, and let's see, Vivian. Happy Vivian. Happy birthday to you. And so I recorded that for them, and she loved it, and it meant quite a bit. And I was happy to do that for her, just a little something extra, because I wanted to thank her for sending me all these wonderful drawings that are behind me and making me feel important.
And you say, you've mentioned that you've got a virtual assistant business, but you tell me that you remember the people who thank you. You remember the adults who thank you in your business, and that what effect that has on your relationship with them.
Yes. So when I was a virtual assistant, I'm a VA matchmaker. I rebranded the business, so I connect entrepreneurs with virtual professionals. But when I was a VA, I would sit sometimes on a Sunday morning, afternoon, and I would go through my clients' websites and just to see if there's anything I needed to do, something I needed to add. I would sometimes I'd go through and then I would take out all the spam or any kind of, letters that notes that people would send and that were, irrelevant or something. If something was important, then I would bring it to the client's attention. And in doing this one day, I noticed that there was malware on this particular website, and it became serious, and all the pages were skewed. So I picked up the phone and called the website provider, and was able to sit on the phone and clear everything off with them. Took a few hours, and was able to clear off the website. So this way, this way we weren't passing this virus on to any of her customers and so on. Well, I called my client and told her what I did, and she was so appreciative of that, that she sent me a very simple thank you note. I just found it the other day, and it says, "Dear Janine, thank you for all of your help. You really saved me." And then she signed her name. And in that, she actually had given me, a bonus, which I was not expecting. Was just nice. And subsequently, I ended up staying with this client until I actually rebranded my business, and I interviewed another VA to take my place. I was very careful that I replaced me with somebody that would be that would match with her. So I took extra time for that. So over time, it has helped my business to have people tell me that they're grateful for the things that I do for them. And sometimes, when I go that extra mile, I think everybody should thank the people that work with them. And the last thing I'm going to say is I created a program recently, an evergreen product, how to 10x your webinar sales with a VA. And one of the things I teach in that program is how to show gratitude towards your virtual assistant or towards the people that work with you, because so often, because we pay them to do a service, we don't ever really thank them, especially when they go above and beyond, or just that they're available for you. So I do teach that as part of my course too.
I mean, this is the thread of connection and gratitude, how gratitude builds connections. It doesn't surprise me that you've ended up as a matchmaker, and you say you provide a VA for life, and that's a big promise. But you've said that when you put the gratitude piece in, it builds that long-term relationship, and therefore that's what builds the connections in the world. And that's what makes me so, that's what makes me understand why you do what you do so well. And it all came from, a prescription right back in the day, which is astonishing. That young man of yours, what did he just recently do?
He well, besides graduating college, which actually was wonderful to have that happen 2 years ago, he has been studying to be a pilot since he was 12, on and off, but he's been in the plane and has logged about, 120 hours or so. He just recently took his FAA private pilot license test, which is a really difficult test, 5-hour test, oral test, and a test with an FAA person, and he passed. So he is officially a pilot. He's, "Mom, I can take you up in the plane now." And I don't know, Melanie, they didn't tell me that I had to.
This is a kid with ADD who was prescribed Adderall, and you put those prescriptions to the side and wrote thank you notes. And today he's a licensed pilot.
Right. And he's seated in a space that is just a tiny space. This is the child that couldn't stay seated.
It's extraordinary. And what did he say to you when he came home and told you that he'd passed?
He said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm going to write a thank you note." No, he
Well,
did.
that's the power of gratitude.
Yes.
Now, Janine, I've actually got a surprise for you because I've been waiting for an opportunity to do this.
What?
So you sent me this a long time ago, and I've been taking such a long time to find the right opportunity to open this in front of you, because you know how much gratitude, like, I get overwhelmed when people give me little things like this. So Janine and I were last together in Las Vegas. Sorry, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles. Just pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, we had a weekend together in Los Angeles. And when I got home, Janine sent me this. And I've been waiting and waiting till I could open it in front of her so that I could see what she... Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me, I can't read it because I'm tearing up. Janine, it's just wanted to say, oh my goodness me. It says so many beautiful things, and it just says, the piece I'm going to read live is, I'm grateful for you and your support and things like that. And this, this is the bit I knew it'd make me cry.
Yeah.
You've given me a little photo album of the photographs that were taken while I was on stage in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Oh,
And I think you'll even get a kick out of the last few pictures.
Oh my goodness me, that is hilarious. Okay, I just have to show that. You can see that. That's me as Gandalf as far as I can work out.
On video. I couldn't resist.
Oh my goodness me, that's so hilarious. And this is me when I'm not wearing my glasses. Big eyes. Oh my goodness me.
I wanted you to have a little memento to, there's nothing like holding a photograph. It's
Really
one of the things that I actually, when I send people thank you notes, I put photographs in. One of our, I do that often, just because I want people to know that I appreciate those moments that they've shared with us. And so a photograph is nowadays holding a photograph is rare, because we all have digital photographs. So I love the idea of holding a memory and going back to that memory. And photographs give me, that was some great pictures.
Such a great picture. And the thing that touches me the most is that this was such an important milestone for me. We were in a mentorship or together in Los Angeles, and speaking on that stage in Los Angeles was a really important, a big milestone for me. And for you to remind me just before lockdown that I did speak on that stage in Los Angeles, and it's really powerful. It's really powerful to be presented months later with that memory. And I remember looking out into the audience and seeing your face and this huge smile, and just thinking, that's my friend, that's my colleague, and we're going to spend another year together. And I was just like, it's amazing. No photo gift would be complete without these images. And that's when the Gandalf pictures are there.
Yes.
Yes. Janine, I can't tell you how much it meant to me when you sent this in the post. It arrived on my door, little blue envelope, and I was like, oh my God, that's from Janine. And, because it's a kind of a signature color for you. And it then has your name on it. So that was a nice clue. And I just wanted to keep it and keep it and keep it. until I could tell you face to face, thank you for giving me back that memory of those beautiful and happy times.
And that's what being grateful is all about. I'm grateful for you, and you're grateful for me. It is magic. It is magic. It's magic, and the postal service is my magic carpet, because they because everybody loves to receive a letter. I have a picture of all three of the children that draw the letters, that draw the pictures for me. Their mother sent them. They're sitting on the floor reading my letters, because I write letters to them, 2 and 3 pages. I just write a lot of stuff, what's going on and that kind of thing, like ask them how school is, that kind of thing. And I tell them little stories in my letters, and I have pictures of them just reading my letters. And yet and it shocks me to think that is so important to receive mail. I hope mail never goes away. And I'm grateful that you appreciated that. I'm happy
It's
to do
now
that.
a really special thing. And you've taught me so much about gratitude, not just from your research, but literally in your being. And for that, I'm very grateful. And so I would like to just say thank you for giving me this interview, for giving us this time. And I can't wait for people to come to the festival and to hear your story. And take half an hour with you afterwards to really explore the feeling of being grateful and that what it does to make you feel so optimistic. And I love it when you say you notice the little things that you're grateful for. So actually your whole day just ends up being a little series of happy moments.
Yes.
And that's what shapes our experience of life. And that's very powerful.
It is very powerful, and it helps to deal with any negative things that come into my life as well. So I'm able to deal with them because I look for the happy parts. And it almost sounds silly, but it's not. It's really just it's retraining the brain, and it can be done.
It's not silly, as you say. It's magic.
It is
magic. So Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you at the festival.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, Melanie.